Guten Tag, and welcome to Amy's German cooking show. Today, we're going to be demonstrating how to bake a German Christmas traditional favorite, Lebkuchen. The smell of fresh baking and evergreen boughs in the German home during Christmas time, as children are opening their advent calendars in anticipation for St. Nicholas to come, is such a wonderful tradition. And today we're going to celebrate the cherished Christmas time by baking Lebkuchen. Christmas time in Germany often incorporates a lot of delicious desserts. And today's recipe, Lebkuchen, is a German gingerbread cookie that is often baked in picture molds. These cookies have an amazingly sweet and nutty taste with a spicy aroma of allspice and nutmeg. The name Lebkuchen comes from the old German word Leb, which means very sweet. These cookies originated as Honeykuchen or honey cake in Egypt, when people often put them in the graves of royalty, but modern Lebkuchen originated in Belgium. These cookies have many variations based on the region of Germany that they're baked in. They're typically baked using honey or cinnamon, cloves, anise, cardamom, coriander, ginger, nutmeg, or allspice. And nuts are commonly used in a lot of German desserts as well, such as almonds, hazelnuts, or walnuts to add that extra crunch to the Lebkuchen, because they really have a cakey consistency. A twist of citrus zest from oranges or lemon peels can also be added for flavor if you wish. In today's recipe, we will be preparing Lebkuchen using 1/2 cup of honey, 1/2 cup of molasses, which is actually made from sugar beets, 3/4 cup packed brown sugar, and as you can tell just from these first three ingredients, this recipe really is Leb, or very sweet, 1 egg, 2 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, a teaspoon of cinnamon, a teaspoon of ground allspice, and 1/3 cup of chopped pitted dates. Candied fruits really add a nice touch for a variation in texture since we're not utilizing nuts in this recipe, and dates are really very popular in German desserts since they are just so sweet. Now, if you would like to add an extra crunch or a zest to your cookies, you can feel free to add some other spices such as cardamom or nutmeg or cloves or candied citron or even a citrus zest from an orange or a lemon, but you don't have to. For these cookies today, we will also be making a white glaze icing to add an extra sweetness and flavor, and this icing will be made out of a 1/4 cup confectioner's sugar, a cup of white sugar, and 1/2 cup of water. And the prep time for these cookies takes about 20 minutes. First, in a medium saucepan, pour in the honey. And it's really helpful if you use a frosting spoon or one of these spreaders. That really helps. And the molasses. I'm going to make sure you get it all in there. Alright. Once this is boiled for just a couple minutes, you can remove it from the heat and you can stir in the brown sugar. The 1 egg. And at this point you would add the citrus zest if you chose to add that fruity touch. Next, in a large separate bowl, you want to stir together all the dry ingredients. So that includes the flour, the baking soda, the cinnamon, and the allspice. Now what you really want to do with all the dry ingredients is you kind of, after mixing them all together, you're going to want to make a well in the center for when you can add your liquid ingredients. So now that these are mixed, we'll make a little well. And we can now add the molasses mixture to the dry mixture. And at this point you can also add any candied fruits or nuts or anything like that. So we'll add the dates too. And once this is all mixed together, you would typically want to cover the dough and chill it overnight for best results. At this point your oven should be preheated to 350, and we have this dough here. Whether or not you decided to chill it overnight or not, they always turn out amazing either way. Now eventually we will be rolling this dough out, but right now you just really want to have your cookie sheet, and I put some aluminum foil on it and have it pre-greased with some Pam spray. And as far as cutting this dough into shapes, if you have fun shapes like a Christmas tree or a heart, you can do that as well. Today we're just going to be doing the round cookies. Today we will be making a round cookie shape. So you want to lightly flour a surface, such as this parchment paper right here, and you can also rub some flour on your hands to make the dough easier to work with so it doesn't stick. If you did want to use cookie cutters or molds at this point, you could roll out the dough to about 1/4 inch thick, and you could also rub some flour on the rolling pin to prevent sticking. But to make the round shape today, we're just going to take the dough and roll it into this long roll. It doesn't have to be exactly uniform, but we're going to essentially just cut this into small circles to put on the cookie baking sheet, and you're going to want to place them about 1 inch apart. They don't have to be perfect circles, but you can kind of manipulate them into a little circle or flatten them with your hands. It just makes it easier to already have it into a roll. You're now ready to put these in the oven, and they only take about 10 to 12 minutes to bake. So you can put them in the oven fairly soon before your guests come over for Christmas dessert. During this time, while you're waiting for the cookies to bake, you can prepare your icing. So first you want to combine the sugar. This is a cup of sugar with the water in a small saucepan. And you're going to heat this until a desired thickness forms, but be really careful not to burn the icing. And if you do have a thermometer, you're going to try to get the temperature to around 240 degrees. After measuring this with a candy thermometer and you see that it's at about 240 degrees, it's going to be really boiling here. You can turn this off and remove this from the heat. And then we want to stir in the confectioner's sugar. And this will form a gorgeous icing for these cookies. The aroma of Christmas in Germany is in the air. The cookies are done. And while they are still hot, you want to take this icing that we have made here, and you can use a pastry brush for this, or in this case a spoon will also work just fine. And you just kind of want to drizzle the icing over each cookie. And if the icing becomes granular while you're doing this, you can always reheat it to allow that sugar to dissolve. Dessert served with a hot beverage in Germany is an expected custom which encourages friend and family gatherings after dinner. So you can serve these cookies with some hot tea or coffee and your guests will love it, especially on Christmas. So thank you so much for listening, and auf Wiedersehen!